Welcome back to Egypt Old Kingdom, where we've reached the climax of the game. It is time for the sixth trial. And at this point, either the economy is going to break us or we're going to break it. One way or the other, it's pretty much going to fall. If you're new to the series, go ahead and check out the full playlist if you'd like in the description below. But it's time to end the Third Dynasty and move on into the Fourth. Kings of this Fourth Dynasty will earn fame as great builders. They will leave a magnificent heritage to their descendants. Their authority will be unquestionable, but the price for such achievements won't be small. Get a culture boost and are notified that small tombs are forbidden. So in this era, I'm going to slow down a bit and do some more of the history because there's quite a bit here that's of interest in my opinion. One question that arises is, where do these dynasty divisions come from? Who came up with them? Who decided, which dynasty ended when? Because it's not done according to sort of what our modern sensibility would be, which is through pure inheritance. When a new ruling family comes, okay, there's a new dynasty. It's sourced in what we believe was a 3rd century priest by the name of Manetho. But there's a lot of questions. One of which is there are no contemporary references to Manetho at all. In fact, none for hundreds of years afterwards, until Josephus in the 1st century AD, so far as I'm aware. Another is that there's a lot of similarity between Manetho and one of his supposed contemporaries, Berossos, over in Babylon. And they're so similar that there have been quite a few unsubtle suggestions that there was some plagiarism going on, either both directions or at least one direction or another. And a lot of that's tied up in the political environment at the time because there's very much competing histories being made by different civilizations and cultures trying to prove that theirs is the greatest and oldest and most glorious civilization in the world. And in fact, one of the writings that Manetho is traditionally credited with is called Against Herodotus, Herodotus being the 5th century Greek writer. So that's not exactly an environment for unbiased writing. Then there's the fact that we don't have anything resembling an original copy of Egyptiaca, the history of Egypt, the primary writing that Manetho is most well known for, and where the division of Egyptian history into 31 dynasties comes from. The operant theory is that Manetho was perhaps commissioned by one of the rulers of Egypt, most likely Ptolemy II, to write Egyptiaca, but again, that's quite questionable since we don't even have any direct evidence that Manetho existed, aside from the writings. But all those sorts of questions aside, what is really interesting about Egyptiaca is just the comprehensive nature of it, the categorization of all the dynasties, and the very overview, complete historical reference. It's a large 3-volume writing. And while modern archaeologists and historians would definitely dispute a number of conclusions that Manetho came to, it still definitely added a lot to our understanding of Egypt. And it's just sort of through sheer inertia that the framework of the dynasty breakdown that Manetho came up with is continued to be followed. Like, we would probably form different divisions now, but a lot of the distinctions that were made seem to have their origins in more of a sense of continuity. Like, if there was a significant change in not just necessarily Egyptian rule, but the nation's status, or things were getting better or worse, or things were splintering or coming together, then that was a reason to dissect into different dynasties. Sneferu comes to power. After Egypt was united and the first pyramids built, the gods favored the people. A new king, Sneferu, came to power. To preserve prosperity, he ordered who to extend? Presumably the people or bureaucrats or whatever. Anyway, extend the practice of colossal tomb building that will empower our kings in life and after death. A new trial of the great age of pyramids has begun. The ambitious Sneferu built the greatest number of pyramids and was remembered as a perfect ruler by Egyptians. People remembered him as a kind master who treated his servants as comrades, although he put Egypt and her neighbors under a great strain just to have all those pyramids built. Sneferu was nevertheless revered with utmost love and respect. Okay, so a couple different divisions to make here. Sneferu did in fact build the greatest number of pyramids so far as we know, 3 of them. However, this being remembered as a perfect ruler and all of that, that's a lot more questionable. Sneferu's name means he has perfected me, the he being Horus. And that is where a lot of that very possibly come from. There is later writings referring to him as a beneficent ruler, but again, that could be referring to his name or his reputation. We're not really sure which, so at least a question mark there. Sneferu did have some very significant foreign expeditions to bring back labor and livestock, and we're talking in the numbers of tens of thousands here to help with the pyramid projects. And being a very successful builder and successful in foreign expeditions, he may very well have been treated with a lot of love and respect by the people for that reason, boosting his popularity, but it's far from being an open and shut case. So in the Great Age of Pyramids, we're building tombs fit for god kings. The power of dead kings in the other world depends on the magnificence of their tombs. They use that power to uphold the order of Maat in the world of the living. So we have two objectives. We need to build 10 tombs, and we got 29 years in which to do it. 29 turns, rather. A little over 100 years. Dwellings of Sneferus. We have 8 of those to build. And I don't like the fact that they're named that, because only one at most could properly qualify as a dwelling of Sneferu. And even that one has a big asterisk to go with it, so just sort of pretend that they're called something else. Probably be better off that way. Okay, so we can locate the tombs, and we can locate the dwellings. We have a couple of other options here. We'll get to the oppress and reform in a bit. We need to accelerate economic growth as much as you can, send expeditions for copper and other resources, launch raids and trade with your neighbors, reforms and oppression to increase resource growth, but don't leave pyramid builders idle. That is indeed very important. To win a gold and silver victory, you have to expedite construction even more. And in fact, to get the gold victory, we have 19 turns, not 29. I don't know that we'll make that, but we'll give it a shot. Kings of the Fourth Dynasty competed with each other in building greater pyramids. All Egypt and neighboring lands participate in grandiose construction, creating a highly complex infrastructure for quarrying, shipping, and hauling stone. And all of that is very much the case. So our two options here. We have oppress. We can lose favor to get more production and luxuries. This is during the trial only. Or we can do the reform option. We will lose food, but we will get faster expeditions and increase our trading and raiding efficiency. And this is the one that I'm going to choose. I'm going to want to hang on to the favor. I have a fairly specific reason for doing that. Okay, so although I think I can probably get away with doing a few of these, I don't want to do it a lot. I'll do 2 oppress, and that's it. I really don't want to hit that too hard. Okay, then the reform, I will grab a couple of these. And I'll grab more later, but that's all I have food for now. Pyramid construction and cult maintenance required increasingly higher numbers of specialized official positions, so administrative staff sizes were enlarged. Role of vizier became especially important and respected. Since I've done a couple of the reforms, I now get +5 culture every turn. There's a couple of other items I want to deal with before we start the building. We have sand cleared over here, and I want to begin an expedition out this way. Now, that's going to be a very nice one for luxuries. We can also see our reforms have had some effect. We are down to 9 turns now for our expeditions. And, by the way, that also reduces the length of time left on the expeditions that are in progress. So that's very nice that that works out for us. Now, I'm going to also begin worshipping Ptah for a nice increase in our production and luxuries. But it also means we're going to have to be a little bit careful on our favor, because we now have 3 expensive cults ongoing at all times. So, dwellings and tombs. Well, this is our first dwelling, Fayum Pyramid, and we don't get to customize this. It simply is what it is. You can see the resource growth is 30% when it is completed. Then over here is our tomb, the Medum tomb. You can see it's our first smooth wall or true pyramid. It's still of large size. We have white limestone and the underneath subterranean dwelling. So we're sticking with the historical options here. We're not going to cheat this part of the game. We should have enough built up to at least survive it on the historical levels with the pyramids as they are represented. So the issue here, really, with the Medum tomb, this is the Fayum pyramid, and here's the deal. There were 5 pyramids built in the Fayum era, historically, that we know of, by the Egyptians. And 4 of them were much later in the Middle Kingdom in the 12th Dynasty. But one was built by Sneferu. Problem is, the one that was built by Sneferu is in fact the Medum pyramid. So it's sort of breaking the laws of metaphysics here, because we're building the same pyramid in 2 different places, 2 different scales, 2 different amounts, 2 different impacts on our game resources and mechanics. And while that is an impressive feat, it's also obviously impossible. So, yeah, and this is the only one. This is the one that I had the asterisk for. The one dwelling that is potentially connected to Sneferu, because it is, but they're already putting it up there as well. And the other 2 pyramids that Sneferu built, we'll be getting to those shortly, were a little bit north of here in Dashur. It's worth keeping that name in mind. Now, we do want to accelerate construction here because, again, otherwise we will never get a gold or silver victory. Now, it's going to cost a lot more, but I want to catch up on the tombs. There's 10 tombs, only 8 dwellings, so I can afford to go a little bit slower here initially. That sucks. Okay, we have some prominent architects aspiring to become master builders of the Fourth Dynasty tombs. And what we get to these is actually kind of important because they can have a significant effect on this trial, and it's random. So we can improve our speed by 20%, but reduce the negative event chance. And the thing is, improving the speed by 20% when, you're not going to be taking any more than 4 turns to build something, it's not even enough to matter. We might be able to reduce, like, the ones from 4 to 3, depending on how the rounding works. We could have reduced costs, but also reduced effect. I'm not a big fan of either one of these. I'm going to reject both of you and just stick without you. Got to figure out if we want to move somebody here. I think we probably do. Well, I mean, some food, some... I'll move you down here, I think. Just for now. I think, getting the more production... Production's going to be more important to me than the luxuries right now. So we'll try to send somebody back there eventually. Okay, so we have Seeker and we have Hoppy. Re-up those. We have enough favor for the moment. Let's also boost our reform by 1 more. And these are carrying on as they are. Now, the first expedition to Punt. This is an interesting mystery, in my opinion. Remote land of Punt, marvelous fragrant plants growing, such as myrrh, cinnamon, and cassia. King Sneferu sent a first naval expedition to bring those plants back. They're planted in the garden next to the valley temple of his pyramid, dedicated to the gods, and all the kings of the Old Kingdom worship there. Now, the question here is, where was Punt? The main theories I've heard are the Arabian Peninsula, or perhaps down by the Horn of Africa, but there are island groups where it could have been. There are other theories. We do not really know. Our first true pyramid tomb is up, the Medum tomb, and that hurts a lot. Oh my goodness! They hate us! They absolutely hate us. I mean, really, all shot at getting, a gold victory here has pretty much just been thrown out the window, but what are you going to do? Okay, the Medum tomb, notice the outside of it is smooth, and the top sort of looks like a step pyramid. Following tradition, King Huni ordered the construction of a step pyramid for himself. When it was almost finished, the king then decided to rebuild it as a smooth-walled pyramid. He also ordered the construction of a funerary chamber inside the pyramid itself rather than underground below it, and these changes made the pyramid unstable. Well, this is questionable also. We don't know for sure if it was Huni who built it, or if it was started under Sneferu. It was at some point changed, but it didn't just make the pyramid unstable, it made it collapse. Now, there's multiple theories as to when. Did it happen, at the time during Sneferu's reign or much, much later? We don't really know for sure. It's totally understandable that there were issues with the first pyramid they were trying to make in a new and impressive style. And then we have the Standard of Ur. Master of the Sumerian city of Ur created a marvelous mosaic depicting a victory of citizens over enemies on one side, and the other pictures of peaceful living. Delivery of the harvest and cattle to a king who was feasting with his entourage. It was framed with depictions of Mesopotamian wildlife. It became a symbol of Sumerian people. We also don't know for sure what its purpose was. When it was originally found, it was referred to as a standard, but that's not exactly, confirmed. As a matter of fact, that sort of theory has been discarded. We don't really know. What we do know is we think it was put on the sides of a hollow wooden box or container of some kind, and it has the two sections. Very impressive art, particularly for its time. Been denoted the war side and the peace side. So, with our failed expeditions, we've got to be careful here. I don't know if I can afford... Nope, that's not happening. And I want to stick with the historical building levels, so I'm just going to accept it being slower if that's what I have to do. And apparently it is. Now notice, this is the first tomb of Sneferu in Dashur. So, if we take a look at what we're actually building here... Wow, that's a big one. Okay, so this is a true pyramid, but it's colossal. It's got white limestone again, and we have the internal burial chamber. So this is almost to the point of being as expensive as we can do it. You can just see the costs here. Yikes. So we're going to have all we can do to keep this thing running at its standard speed. Okay, well, the fly people are wimpy, so that's fine. I don't really care. Let's do reform one more time. And that means that the cult of Ra is on the rise. King Djeretfra has enacted religious reforms, declaring himself to be not just Horus, but the god Ra himself, building temple in Ra's name. And so we get more culture and not as much food. The Fayum Pyramid has been built, the second version of it. This expedition that we could do here, though, not that great. We have explored new territory. I'm going to have you... I'd like to have you go exploring more, but I think I'm just going to have you replace the resources that we were losing. There we go. And let's see. Hyena is no longer aggressive. So now I'm going to try to save up my food at this point to start boosting our population again, particularly with the one we lost at the cataract. That's going to be quite important. All of these are still going. And, yeah, you can see that we're getting quite a bit from all of that. We are still continuing to try to improve matters over here with the cat people. And we're gradually closing in there. Let's see, our trade down here. We're looking pretty good on luxuries. I'm actually going to switch you over and have you boost some here as well. Just try to do this a little bit faster. But of course, we cannot afford to accelerate this under current situations. Then our next dwelling is coming up here, but I'm going to wait one turn for that expedition to finish. Okay, well, at least we get some positive news. And then less. That's another production expedition. What is going on with these expeditions? They hate us. We got some more successful ones in, but good. I mean, I haven't seen a string like this before. Oh well, nothing for it. Now we can cancel you and begin this next one. The Athribus Pyramid. And to call this one a dwelling of Sneferu is rather arrogant. It is the only pyramid that we know of that was built within the Nile Delta. And it no longer exists. But where it used to exist, it was discovered by Napoleon, and there was an engraving made that was published and a map that was drawn. And then by the time archaeologists got there to try to study it, by the time we got around to try and investigate it more, it was pretty much not there anymore. But it was a small one, only 20 meters as a side. The bottom line is we don't know who built it, or when, or anything else about it other than it at one point existed. So anything beyond that is pure speculation. Now, we are going to go next to Colonial Administration, because it's going to boost expedition efficiency by 30%, meaning any expeditions we get are going to give us 30% more resources. And given the luck that we're having, we're really going to need that to happen. More and more people came under control of the growing Egyptian kingdom. Colonial administration evolved to create a foundation for a future empire. Fortresses were built and rebellions quelled, while the influx of tribute grew, and some territories even lent their troops to Egypt. So, again, we are getting better at fully exploiting the surrounding regions that we don't consider to be part of Egypt. Okay, first tomb of Sneferu and Dasha. Let's see what they have to say about this. Endeavored to create a tallest pyramid. A tallest pyramid? However, due to huge mass and brittleness of the rock used, numerous cracks appeared on the pyramid, so the planned height had to be reduced. Thus, the shape of the pyramid became bent. Sneferu was displeased and ordered construction of a new pyramid. Okay, so this is one of the theories about how the bent pyramid came to be. And you can see by looking at it, it's a 54-degree angle initially, then that's flattened out to 43 degrees. However, the theory given here that cracks appeared in it, that is a theory. But it's far from being confirmed. Another theory is that when the Medum tomb, collapsed, they decided to do a flatter angle due to that reason, and to keep it more stable for that purpose. And we don't know that Sneferu was upset by this and wanted a new one built. In fact, that whole theory that the bent pyramid didn't go the way it was planned, so therefore he was mad and wanted a new one built, it's hard for that to fly, because the next pyramid he built, the final one, was the same angle, that same 43-degree angle, that flatter angle. I mean, maybe he didn't like him being at two different angles, but he sure didn't try to rebuild one that was as tall as whatever they're saying the bent pyramid was originally supposed to be. So, multiple possibilities there, but they should probably chill out on being as dogmatic about their particular approach. Okay, so the second tomb of Sneferu in Dashur, otherwise known as the Red Pyramid. And let's just take a look at... Okay, so now we are at the point where we have maxed out every single option. You can see the cost here. Yeah, this is going to take some time and some resources indeed. And it's also going to bring in quite a bit as well. But we are not at the point of really being able to advance at all in really accelerating it, but at least we can restart. I don't think it was there. I think I was over. I think this was the one I wanted. Yep. So you can see this one, the results went up from 30 to 39. We're going to need everything we can get from those expeditions at this stage if we're going to find our way out of this situation. But I think we will leave off our journey there. We will continue on with the Red Pyramid and the Athribus Pyramid and see what other constructions await us in the future. We currently have built 2 tombs and 1 of the dwellings, and we have quite a ways to go. And all I can say is our expeditions better fare better, or we're going to be in trouble. But we'll revisit all of that next time. Thanks for watching. Egypt Old Kingdom will continue.